Welcome everyone back in another great video. A question we get all the time, and Rick asked this one: can I retire with $250,000? Do I need to be a millionaire? Can I retire with less? Is $250 okay? Of course, the answer is it depends. Favorite answer of any financial planner. What does it depend on? That is really what we're going to dive into in this video, and we'll do all that with a case study.
Yeah, so we're going to do the case study, and again, remember, we're dealing with this $250K. That's what we're looking at. We're not saying, is this the amount that you're going to have, or have you planned $6,000 a month and can it be done? We're dealing with the $250. So on our case study, we're going to take our subject here, John. He is 65 and he's retiring today.
Yay!
He's single. He doesn't have to worry about it. He has $250,000. It's split up between an RSP and a TFSA. $175,000 in the RSP, $75,000 in the TSA. We're assuming that he's getting the max OAS, which is $727 presently.
Common.
And he's getting $1,000 a month from CPP. So how much can he spend? And of course, we're using the Maurer retirement calculator. We're going to assume 4.25% is the return on investment. And we're only looking at his retirement savings. We're not looking at his house or anything else along those lines. And he is living in Ontario. So based on this case study, Clint, what can we get?
Scenario one, everything you just went over, $2,500 after tax every month. So 30 grand a year after tax a month is really what he could spend. Now, of course, we had to adjust that for inflation, right? 30 grand this year, might be a little more next year, a little more the year after. And the scenario here, the planner from Maurer, that calculator, goes until the end of the 89th birthday. So he's about to turn 90 the next year, and he'd still have $89,000 of that $250 left over.
Nice.
So that would be scenario one. You don't make any changes. How much can he spend? Right there, $2,500 after tax every single month. Case study two, what if we flipped it? Less RSP, more TFSA, would that make a difference?
Yeah, actually, it will make a difference because, again, we're dealing with our registered products. The more registered you have, of course, you get taxes coming off, more is being taxed. If you have more in the TFSA, you don't have to worry about that as much. And what we find out with John, if we use $75,000 in the RSP and $175,000 in the TFSA, he can spend an extra $160 a month. So it's $2,660 now, each and every month, inflation adjusted. And that, as we say, the same thing, taking him to his 89th birthday, going into 90, he'd still have $17,000 left. So not as much left in the reserve, but again, for those number of years, he's spending an extra $160 a month.
Yeah, and that just means because there's more in the TFSA, easier to get out. RSP, the benefits are generally upfront. You get that upfront savings, but then you pay on the back end. So in retirement, more TFSA, less RSP does make a little bit of difference here for John. This all started because Rick asked us a question. Those folks probably have a question. How do they get answers?
They go to chatwithclintonandkevin.com, send the questions. It comes directly to Clint and I. We'll get back to you as quickly as we can, and hopefully we can answer what you're looking for.
Continuing the case study here, we'll look at another scenario. What if he had more pensions? So our subject, John, now has a little extra CPP. Let's assume he's getting closer to the max. Not quite max, but he's now getting $1,300 instead of just $1,000 a month. Everything else still the same. We're now back to our original 175 RSP, 75,000 TFSA. That gets you the 250,000. And you can see he can spend even more. Now he's up to $2,830 after tax every single month, inflation adjusted for the length of retirement. So more pensions, obviously beneficial, means you can spend more money in retirement. And we will look at a fourth scenario, but quickly, we do videos like this all the time. If you like this kind of information, we also have a newsletter. Passes along weekly financial planning tips. There's a link in the description if you'd like to sign up. We'll now go to a fourth scenario here with $250,000 for the retirement.
And what we're dealing, so the $250, but now we're not assuming John's single anymore. We're going to assume John is married. And that basically him and Mary, his wife, once they're married, of course, still using the same amount, $250,000, only each of them will split $87,500 in RHP, each one of them, and $37,500 in their TFSAs. But let's remember the one thing, they now both get CPP and OAS. So again, as Clint mentioned last time, more pension money coming in, chances are we can do more. We're going to assume John's $700 a month on his CPP, Mary's getting $600 a month. They both get the max OAS. So if we split their income and do things along those lines, John can spend upwards of $3,580. So roughly from our first scenario, an extra $1,000 a month, each month, inflation adjusted. And by the end of the age of 89, we're still looking at almost $40,000 that's sitting there. So as you can see, more pensions, more money they can spend.
Yeah, that's the key difference between single and a couple. A couple, well, they're going to have more pensions just because most folks get OAS, they get some form of CPP. So now you're not always doubling, but you're increasing the pensions. And then the ability to split income in retirement does save the tax, which normally means you can spend a little extra. Those two perks certainly add up, and you can see the spending level jumps. What are the key considerations here? What are the takeaways? One of them, we just kind of touched on, more pensions means you require less savings to have the same level of spending, or more pensions means you can spend more in retirement. So Can you retire? Is 250 enough? Well, if you have a lot of pensions, it certainly can be, but that is going to be different for everyone. But more pensions usually means better spending in retirement.
Yeah, and another point that you should take a look at is what's your mix of the money that you've saved. I mean, if your money is all RSP oriented, that's one thing. If it were all TFSA or non-registered oriented, chances are you're going to get a little bit better of an option. By having stuff that's not taxed as heavily, you're going to wind up getting more money out of that going forward. And again, it'll all depend on, what was your tax bracket beforehand, things along those lines. Were you saving? Options that you had to look at.
Yeah, and then another takeaway is going to be the budget is key. I mean,
Yes.
if you have a smaller pot of savings, for most folks, that usually means spending potential is going to be limited in retirement. And maybe it's still enough, but that really depends on your personal spending habits and your budget. And it very well could still work out. Like in many of these examples here, John could have retired and been comfortably assuming his spending matched the levels here. If you wanted to spend $6,000 a month, well, he certainly didn't have enough for retirement. But if you wanted to spend $2,000 to $3,000, well, he'd be right on track with these kind of savings plans. So that budget, your spending habits, understanding those, having a good handle on those is certainly key. And of course, the Becker Orr mantra,
have a plan. I mean, the biggest factor going into this beforehand is make sure that you've had a plan going forward. I mean, if you have your plan set up earlier before you're looking at the retirement scenario, you're going to know what you want in retirement. You're going to know if you have enough to be able to deal with that as it's set. So make sure you get that plan done early. When you have the plan, this all makes a lot more sense, and it is easier to implement as soon as you hit that retirement age, as opposed to say, I'm starting now, what's my plan?
Well, a moment ago, we talked about the mix of accounts, RSP versus TFSA. The video on the screen now, are RSPs really worth it? An interesting one. Click on that. We'll see you there. Take care.